I'm Maggie O'Halloran, one of the educators at the Florida School of Holistic Living, and we're here in my backyard garden to talk about garlic, or Allium sativum. I'm going to start with a reading by one of my herbal mentors, guides, teachers, however you want to describe, Guido Massey, an herbalist out of Vermont, in his book, The Wild Medicine Solution, garlic. In the Balkans, the region just north of Greece, mountain folk talk of strongly scented remedy whose mere aroma dispels all manner of evil, from sorcerers and demons to the dread Upir, a witch spirit who, rising from the grave, travels the countryside in search of blood. Its victims slowly lose color and vitality, become depressed, and eventually fade away. It is possible that the term vampire, which evolved into our present day vampire, at some point in the 18th century comes from these Central European legends. Regardless, the remedy is the same: the bulb of the stinking lily, cultivated for cuisine, but also used as a potent disinfecting medicine. This remedy, of course, is our very own garlic. Be sure to comment below if you have any questions or thoughts, or how you work with garlic, or stories that you've heard of around garlic. And today we're mostly going to be talking about Allium sativum in the Amaryllidaceae family, which is the lily family. It's a plant in that lily family. And sativum means cultivated. So most of the garlic that we work with in these bulbs at our favorite farmer's market or store is a variety of garlic that has been used over time, and sativum typically means cultivated. So it's a cultivated garlic variety. Here in Central Florida, where I'm located, we have a plant called commonly wild garlic or wild onion, mostly because of the smell. And that is Allium canadense. And Peggy Lance, Florida Edible Wild Plants, has a really nice write-up about this plant that is a Florida native plant that can be used in really similar culinary ways. She talks about using this garlic in garlic butter, our wild onion creams. A lot of those culinary uses, you can use that local to Florida variety of wild garlic. And a lot of the time you're going to be using the garlic chive from that wild plant. And that is also part of what we're going to talk about here in growing wild garlic or garlic in your own garden. So the best way of using garlic in your wild Florida garden, like mine, or your more cultivated garden, is to get garlic from a reliable source and then let it sprout. So there are two sprouting options. One of them, if you live in a really hot and humid place, you'll find that your garlic, if you leave it out on the counter long enough, it sprouts. It gets these little green chive-looking sprouts that come out of the top. That works. Or you can take apart some of the clove. You're taking off the main outside white skin part, but you're leaving on a bulk of that. And you can put it into a container where just the bottom of that garlic gets close to the water. And you'll find that you get what you will recognize as roots. So this just takes 3 to 4 days to get roots like this. And that's all you need to be able to grow garlic. Now, if you're growing in Central Florida or in climates that don't get covered with snow throughout the winter time, this is your best method. Sprout it a little bit around September. You can put it right into a garden bed. Garlic really prefers nutrient-dense soils. So if you're working with Florida sandy soil, you want to make sure you add a lot of compost. It really likes the nutrients, but it doesn't love the moisture. So raised garden bed, clay pot. You can take this sprouted garlic and put it directly into a clay pot with that pointy end facing up into the soil, with the pointy end pretty close to the top of your soil. It doesn't have to be under the soil too much. Or if you're living in more northern climates where your ground gets covered with snow, then Guido Masse, I've never grown it in your environment, but Guido Masse is an herbalist who's been growing garlic in Vermont for years and years, so I trust the experience there. He says to take similar garlic, still with that outer wrapping on it, but you're taking out individual parts. You're not planting a whole bulb. You're just planting one part of it. I live in the city, sorry about the noise. So you take this garlic clove and you do the same thing in October, November, and you plant it like any other bulb that you would plant in your region. And you're still putting it in the ground so that pointy part is up towards the sky and the bottom can be rooted. You do not have to root it if you're growing in more northern climates that get covered with snow. If you're growing in northern climates, plant it October, November, you let it grow. Guido says it's one of the first plants that you'll see popping out of the ground. He says it's really fun for kids because they see it popping out of the ground in the spring. And you let it grow, and those chives will grow beautiful. Around the time that they flower, they will start to die back. And that's when he says it's a really good time to harvest. And you have this 3 to 4 foot tall garlic, beautiful flowers, has grown and been lovely, scented, and a source of garlic chives for a season. And you take the whole plant, you pull it out of the ground, and you have your whole new clove ready to go. And you can take apart some of it and replant some in October, November, and use the rest. Is there a question?
Would it be okay if I started the garlic now in Florida?
So in Florida, great question. So in Florida, September is when I always start my garlic. So start with it sprouted like this with the little roots and the water, or I let it sit on the counter so it starts sprouting the green. And I put it in the ground now. And I first learned about the joys of growing garlic in Florida when we first moved here about 10 years ago, and we had squirrels that would come over and dig up, I'm not sure what they were going for, but they would dig up the garden a lot. And I learned that planting garlic in the garden would help keep those away, the squirrels, other critters, bugs, because of the aromatic qualities. In Florida, I don't get a bulb. I get chives almost all winter. And garlic chives are not that unlike onion chives that you can chop up. You're still starting with that clove. You can either start in a clay pot with the tip pointed up, or you can put it right into the corner of a garden bed. I say the corner because it does a really nice job of keeping neighborhood cats or squirrels out of the garden. It can also be really nice as a companion plant for tomatoes or other plants, culinary herbs. It can be really nice with. Okay? So that's growing. It's pretty simple. When you're growing in Central Florida or the more warmer climates, 9A, 9B, you're going for those chives. And you'll have garlic chives that you can cut and you can use in salads, grilled cheese sandwiches, pretty much anywhere you would use onions or garlic. Are you growing garlic? Have you had trouble with squirrels? Tell me about it. Okay. So has a long history of use for a chemical compound called isothiocyanates. Cyanates, excuse me, not cyanide. Isothiocyanates. Isothiocyanates. So this is an aspect of garlic that is part of the plant, and it's what helps repel the critters from the plant. A lot of your really aromatic plants have a plant constituent like garlic's isothiocyanates that repel these insects. It happens to be also the chemical property that helps us repel bacteria, virus, fungi, all the cooties. So in order to access those things, you need to break the outer shell. You know, this plant is going to have those if it's bitten by an animal that's trying to get in, or by you and your kitchen knife. Their question?
Is it okay to grow indoors and low or high sunlight?
So, growing garlic, it needs sun. Full to part sun. It won't be happy in the full sun of Florida during the summer. It's a little too intense, but throughout the rest of the year, you could probably grow it inside if you've got really good sun coming in through the window. Just make sure you're watering it. It likes water, but it doesn't like to stay wet. So think oregano, you know, if you have other culinary herbs that you're growing inside, it could grow in a pot and with a window. So you're breaking the outer skin to access the chemical constituents. Now, if you were raised by someone who cooks and they told you to chop up your garlic and let it rest for 3 to 4 minutes before you use it, that's what you're accessing. The garlic, because of this chemical reaction that happens when it hits the air, it is kind of sweeter, it has a nice garlic aroma compared with the more pungent scent that you get if you're eating like a raw clove. So make sure that you're cutting the outside. It is warming and a little drying as well. So this warming quality is what helps the body to balance out cardiovascular needs. So I'm not here to diagnose or treat anyone, but historically, garlic has been said that it can help with things like high blood pressure or low blood pressure and balancing cholesterol. I know that sounds like it's doing a lot of things, but the way that garlic interacts in the body is that it's moving the blood more efficiently. It's dilating the blood vessels, so it's just getting things to move more efficiently through the body. There have been studies that say that garlic is contraindicated with pharmaceutical blood thinners, so you might want to check with your medical provider if you're going to add a lot more garlic into your diet than you're currently consuming. So, Paul Pitchford, in this book, Healing with Whole Foods, he has, you can see I find this book to be a great resource for a lot of different things. So in Paul Pitchford's book, and I want to give a little side note on this book, the author is a really strong proponent of the health benefits of being vegetarian. And although I am vegetarian and I find this book to be a valuable resource in a lot of ways, I just want to let you know that the author has that perspective, and we know that the vegetarian diet works for a lot of people, but it's not the best for anyone. So this book can be a great resource if you're looking for energetic qualities of plants or working with different foods as medicine, but I just want to give that side note on this book. So garlic is fantastic as an antimicrobial. In this book, they recommend a garlic and cayenne soup to fight off the common cold or flu because of the heat. The heat is moving the cooties through your body and getting them out. Another way to get heat into your body from this fantastic herb is with fire cider. So fire cider is a combination of those really hot herbs in apple cider vinegar. And Rosemary Gladstar, another one of my herbal grandmothers, she had put together this book that is a great resource if you're interested in bringing the culinary and medicinal benefits of fire cider into your life. It's filled with lots of different recipes, and she even has recipes on what to do with the plants when you have harvested your fire cider. So for those of you who are not familiar with fire cider, it is a traditional combination probably developed by Rosemary Gladstar, something a lot of herbalists keep in our refrigerators. It's basically something like garlic with cayenne, horseradish, thyme, rosemary, hibiscus, herbs that you tincture 4 to 6 weeks in apple cider vinegar, and then you strain it, and the liquid is your fire cider. A lot of people like to add honey to that liquid just to take it down a notch from the heat and to make it a little more palatable. I like to keep garlic by itself in apple cider vinegar. This stays in our refrigerator if I'm making salad dressing, if I've made a stir fry, a soup. Last night for dinner, I just chopped up a bunch of kale. I put it in a pan, let it start cooking. I poured in some of my, turned off the heat, poured in some of my apple cider vinegar and garlic cloves. It was dinner. It was fantastic, nourishing to my body. It brought that wonderful garlic properties into my life in a really tasty way. So this is just whole cloves of garlic, and that apple cider vinegar will do what you need it to do to break down the outer parts of the garlic so you can access those chemical properties that bring cootie fighting, it's a technical term, cootie fighting to your apple cider vinegar. I usually start this with filling the jar with the fresh garlic, it smells so good, and then adding my apple cider vinegar. And that can be any apple cider vinegar that you like, and we're not talking about the kind of vinegar you might use for cleaning, like white vinegar. I use apple cider vinegar, and I like to get organic apple cider vinegar that includes the mother. Apple cider vinegar is a fermented product, and I find that it's really beneficial in my body. So, antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, wonderful at fighting yeast infections, both preventing and treating colds, flus. Any bacterial or viral infection can be helpful at fighting it. The chicken soup of old-time remedy with the garlic in it, there's a reason for that. So it's the garlic that's helping you, your body. There's a quality in garlic that is only relieved from your body through your lungs. So if you've ever noticed you eat garlic and then it's in your mouth for hours after that, science says that it's because the stinky part of garlic is your body's getting rid of it through your lungs. So that means it's helpful at getting catarrh out of your lungs. If you've ever had a cough that's kind of persisted for a while, maybe there's a little bit of junk still left in your lungs that maybe is coming out or isn't, and you want some help with that, garlic. So, eating garlic, we talked about garlic and apple cider vinegar. We talked about fire cider. If you have any questions or thoughts, are you using fire cider? Are you making things with garlic, like garlic elderberry syrup? Elderberry is a plant that we talked about in a different video, but the combination of elderberry syrup with garlic is really lovely. It tastes really nice and can be really helpful in the body. The chives, I just keep chopped up in the fridge so that I have access. It's easy. You know, I'm chopping it up one day and then I have access to sprinkle it on my food the rest of the time. If you don't have access to growing it and you just want to have more garlic in your life, you can use the dry garlic. It has a lot of really similar outcomes in the body. You can use it to make the elderberry syrup. You can use, actually, this kind, the dried, cut, sifted garlic. One of my teachers, Emily Ruff, she taught me how amazing this can be on a nut butter and jelly sandwich. And before you go, what? Garlic with nut butter and jelly? You have to try it. If you kid of the South and had Doritos on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, it's a really similar experience, only better for you, I'd say. Better for you. If garlic is a plant that you're really into and you want to study deeper into some of the plants that will grow here in Central Florida or commonly used, we have a Roots of Home Study course that's available through our website. Check it out. And thank you for joining us in the garden. Thank you for your comments and your questions. And if you think of a question later on, feel free to email me at maggie@holisticlivingschool.org. Check out our website, like, subscribe, help us keep these videos free. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time.